This is the House of Andrea. I'm Andrea Lee Matthews, an artist, photographer, and clairvoyant medium. And in this podcast, we explore what it really means to thrive as a soul having a human experience. How to connect with our energy, transcend those edges and boundaries that we create for ourselves, and open to the full spectrum of who we are. If you're ready to see yourself differently, to sense more deeply, and to expand into more of who you are, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
Good morning, welcome back. This is our first walking episode today. This is a new format that I'm introducing into the podcast. And so I'd love to know at the end of the episode, feel free to send me a DM whether you liked the sound of the beautiful nature, because I'm recording this actually in a beautiful nature reserve near my house. It runs along a river, so there's beautiful sounds of birds all around me, and the wind is rustling the trees, which just sounds divine. So I'd love to know, do you like this format? Is it blissful listening to all of the birds, or do you have any other thoughts? So let me know what you think. But the idea of these episodes is to capture the daily contemplations and the channelings that come through. So I tend to try and get out for a walk every day. It doesn't always happen, but I always try. And one of the things that I've noticed is that when I am moving my body, it helps me really connect to my spirit. And it also opens my channels up, particularly when I'm in nature and I can just take my time and really deeply connect. So many beautiful channeled messages come in. So I wanted to open this series up, to give me more options to be able to bring these beautiful episodes to you, but also to start just recording some of these beautiful daily contemplations that come in, and a little bit of insight into what I often think about, particularly in the context of this new journey that we're moving into with the House of Andrea, and on my own journey as an artist. One of the things that has been coming through really strongly of late is this sensation of this work is all about pushing our edges, pushing the edges and the boundaries of self and creativity. I think that really is the mission of the artist, honestly, any artist, is to see the world and then push the boundaries of how we can interpret that, how we can see that, how we can share and express that back out through our own lens, through our own eyes. And often to be able to do that, we need to open our ability to contemplate, to think deeply, because there is such a tendency to want to mimic or produce things that are socially acceptable. And again, I'm not just talking about art here. I've seen this pattern for myself over so many different facets of my life. I've seen myself want to imitate or regurgitate, but with a slightly different lens, popping the label of innovation on in so many different facets of my career. I remember when I was in the corporate world, I would look around and analyze the most successful people in that field. What are they doing? How are they showing up? How are they striving? What are they excited by and motivated by? And with this desire, this inner desire to fit in, I would take those things on as my own. And this is really interesting because we can take things on and convince ourselves that it's what we want. Like, to our core, we see something that someone else is doing, it seems successful, or it paints a picture of what we think we want for ourselves, and before we know it, it's what we want. Now, I guess I'm starting to see this really strong conversation of this notion of sleepwalking, right, which is our very first episode on this podcast. But this sense of imitation is such a powerful one for us to identify in our lives and give ourselves permission to break free from, because we don't need to imitate. In my work, I focus a lot on our energy, our soul, coming back to the essence of who we are. And it is absolutely impossible for us to be the same as someone else. When our soul was getting ready to incarnate at this time, it chose this particular beautiful, meaningful body to go on this adventure on. And so it is not only physically, DNA, anatomically different from other people, even if you look similar to a sibling. The energy, the essence, the soul, the spirit, the connection, the way that we see things, it's different. Yet we spend so much time trying to imitate and fit in for this animalistic, social acceptance type vibe. And this is something humans have always done. It's always been safer in community. It's always been safer if we're accepted. But we've definitely taken it too far in that out of fear and scarcity, we are willing to sacrifice so many parts of ourselves for that acceptance based on what looks successful on the surface or is successful for someone else, because we are craving those feelings, particularly if we aren't in a space where we are absolutely full with self-love and our own energy. If we've got energy leaks, if we're looking outside ourselves for validation, these kind of empty out our life force and our self-love just enough for us to feel like, oh, that thing that person over there has, that's what's missing. That's the life force, that's the magic that I need. So how do I get there? And I say this with such love and experience, such deep experience, because like I can reflect back now and see no matter what age I was, there was this element of needing to validate or needing to fill myself and my self-worth with external factors. Looking around in the world and not knowing what I really wanted, but seeing pieces reflected in others. But actually what I was sensing was the energetic self-love, the energetic confidence, the energetic willingness to push edges and be authentic and be real. That's what I was sensing that I wanted for myself, but I was translating it in terms of that's the physical thing and the type of person and the look and the factor that I obviously is missing from me to feel that way. And I was confusing the energy with the physical. And what that does quite often is that's when we hit Google and be like, how do I XYZ? Or best strategy for, or we see the career that gives us the feeling, the energy, and then we think it's that tangible, actual career itself and all of the wants and needs and haves associated with that career or that lifestyle. And then we try and figure out what is the 10-step plan to get there. It's such a human thing because we all have these incredible, powerful minds that can figure things out, that can learn, but we overuse that power, that ability, thinking that it's the tangible and the physical. And so this is why I was talking about this notion of pushing our edges. This is such a strong theme that's coming through for me now and is almost, what do I want to say, the mantra? The mantra or the energy behind this phase that I'm in at the moment is like, where are my edges of what I feel is comfortable, or where are my edges of what I think I need? What's keeping me small? What's keeping me on a track that is something that physically looks great, but is actually restricting me or keeping me out of my body, out of my true essence and my energy? And where can I push that? Where am I not willing to break rules based on fear of missing out or not becoming the thing that I think I should have? This is the kind of dialogue that I am now becoming hyper aware of with love, with this ability to soften, to ground, to expand. Because the more that we become aware of these narratives, aware of these energies, and when we're attached to the physical or the idea of something, and then pushing our edges beyond that. This is where the incredible growth and potential happens. And one of the subtleties of all of this too is that sometimes we don't know we are afraid of those edges because we're not aware of where the edges are. We are so programmed, and again, just speaking from having lived this, we are so programmed to just follow the plan or follow the execution of something based on what we think we need. We get so caught up in that it's actually really hard for us to see what's our edges and what is a dream or desire of someone else, because so many times we end up feeling, well, I don't know what I want. Well, I feel like that could be interesting, so I'm just going to follow that because it's better than feeling how I'm feeling right now. That space of I don't know who I am, I don't know what I want, that is so depleting, and it can feel so terrifying because we want to be attached to something. We want to fit in, we want to feel that we're whole and present and real. And so it is so easy that rather than looking inside ourselves and finding those edges and being brave enough to push them, we just go, oh, overwhelm, mind is running, anxiety, and that's when we start to walk down these pathways that aren't ours. And I've been thinking a lot lately about where my edges are based on external narratives that I've created. Edges that I've created on social acceptance or based on fear, based on past experience, childhood experiences, all different types of experiences, even past life experiences where I have set a boundary that's like, no, that's not for me. And this is the beautiful thing about energy and really coming home to ourselves and being able to soften and open and sense things, because we can start to discern what is a fear-based boundary or what is a fear-based decision based on X, Y, Z, or even sometimes we don't know what the X, Y, Z is. It's just a fear. It just is, because it's all we've ever known. And this is where coming back to the body is so important, and why spending time in places like nature, walks like this, can be so valuable. Because all of a sudden, just with the sound of the birds, with the presence and the pace that you set when walking in nature, this is where you can start to actually feel into some of those stories and some of those beliefs, because especially when you're walking along, you can give yourself permission for your mind to just stop. Stop analyzing, stop running away with itself, to just breathe. And I like to often, because I'm a big believer in the mind actually not being the place where we make the decisions from. It's actually the body, it's the sacral, it's the heart, it's the solar plexus, it's these beautiful energy centers. If you are into human design, you'll even get even more specifics around where your decision-making center is most powerful. And I'll link a couple of resources to some great human design places in the show notes if you're interested and you haven't delved into that. But the mind is not a decision-making center. Ooh, the cockatoo agrees with us. I'm just gonna walk away from this guy because he is pretty chatty. Hello, friend. You know, we will have this debate and we'll ruminate on it over and over and over again to try and make a decision from that place. And that's not what the mind is for. The mind is for processing, for ideation, for ideas. It's not the master of what we should do with our lives. It's just got real chatty this morning. It's not the decision maker of what we want to do in our lives. That's not what it's built for. We need to get back into the body to make those decisions. The body is the direct seat of the soul. It is the connection to our higher self, to our soul, to our energy, to our life force. And when we leave that piece out of the equation, it makes it really difficult to make decisions in alignment with our soul's essence. When we make decisions from our mind, we're making decisions based on pieces of logic that we've picked up. And we all know that there are so many things that we don't yet know. There's so many pieces of information, of wisdom, of source that exists and is true, but our mind hasn't come in contact with it yet, so it doesn't have it as learnt knowledge, which means there's a massive piece of the puzzle missing to then make a decision. Whereas when we connect into the body and we feel what those decisions are, it brings us to a much truer decision. And that's where coming back to the body, walking, being with yourself, contemplating. I love contemplation. You'll hear me say that in almost every podcast episode. It's like the thing I have been contemplating this week or in this moment or today. Allowing yourself to contemplate, to use your mind to rumble through those known pieces of information that we have. But coming back into the body in these moments in nature, or if you create a beautiful sanctuary at home that allows you to drop into your body, whatever that looks like, and it will be different for everyone, to just come in and feel through the path, feel through the decision, feel through the edge of who you are and what it is that you want to achieve. And then allowing the body to speak back to you, allowing your intuition, your soul knowing to bring you a sign, a symbol, a thought, a feeling. That could be a physical feeling or an energetic feeling. To then build the picture for you. This is what makes us aware of some of those fears and narratives that we've got playing based on things we've picked up on society or just to fit in, versus what's actually real, what is actually something that we want to do or want to be, and where our limitations are around that. Because as soon as we have this beautiful awareness of, well, I've created an edge or a fear and told myself that I don't do X, Y, and Z, we can feel into that and be like, is that just an edge based on a societal expectation that I can hold the edge and step forward because I know I can feel it in my bones that this is something that I'm meant to be doing. Like I can feel it physically and tangibly. So something I have to do, but I have this edge based on who I've told myself that I am or I'm not in the past, or because I feel like it doesn't fit in, or because I'm stuck in imitation mode, or I've looked at what somebody else has because it was too hard, too painful, too elusive for me to figure out myself. And so I'm on this imitation pathway, and this edge is actually not mine. It's just a story that I've told myself. And here's the other thing that I want to say, which could be very polarizing, but I don't necessarily agree or love how we have become a trauma story-based society. And you'll hear this either in yourself, and if you're really honest with yourself, you'll see it within yourself, because I can see it when it pops up too, or in others that you love, or in others around you. There will be something that they're battling, and all of a sudden you'll hear them say, because of this childhood memory, or because of this childhood event, or because of my parents' fear or anger or blah, 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 I have XYZ done this behavior, and this is why I am this way. You'll hear the story. And what happens, the intention behind stories can be powerful, because what they're trying to do is reparent ourselves, help us reparent ourselves, or go back and love our inner child, or have awareness around why a certain behavior exists. But a lot of people stop at the story. It's like, I have this story and this is what it is, and I'm working on it. But the working on it doesn't actually truly happen because they're too stuck in the story. I'm saying this with complete love because this is what I used to live. This is how I used to be. Especially when I first came into personal development work and spirituality and started to be able to go back into past life stuff or, see visions of past things for both myself and the clients that I work with. And it's so easy to build that narrative because our brain, again, loves narrative. It loves story. It loves to be able to go, this equals this. We're so mathematical, even when it comes to psychology and trying to figure things out. We love a good, this plus this equals this. It's just how we're wired. And that can be so beautiful in the healing process, but it's not beneficial if we get stuck in the this plus this equals this. And we get stuck in a healing loop of I'm working on it. I'm going back and reparenting her, but we don't ever move through that. And we've created an edge around that. It's like this, now that I know the story, it was uncomfortable to discover the story and to do the healing work to find the story. But now I've created an edge that I have the story, that it's like safer and easier to justify than it is to just decide not to have the story. There's a comfort that happens around having the story. But I've worked with some beautiful, incredible mentors now. And the model that I love that has evolved for me is see the story but choose differently anyway. Like see the story of I have this tendency or have this belief and I behave in this way because of X, Y, Z story, but I choose now to let that go. Like I just choose a different story. I actually see the story evaporating. It actually doesn't become a narrative anymore because it is an edge. It is a comfort edge that we create. A classic example is, I grew up not on the poverty line, but just above it. And everything was always a struggle. Money was always a stretch. My parents had multiple small businesses. My dad was an autolec and had his autolec business, and my mom had a crystal and jewelry business and a massage business, and they also taught rock and roll. Like there was a lot of entrepreneurial spirit, but out of a desperate need to keep the lights on, with this toing and froing between I'm doing this because I'm entrepreneurial and I see the opportunity here, but I also need to buy food to put on the table. And so this entrepreneurial spirit was wrapped in this need of desperation, of scarcity, of fear. And so growing up, I lived in that paradigm. And then when I first started my business, I had a lot of scarcity around that. This mentality of you should get a corporate job because it's safe, it's secure. You're less likely to fail if you have a corporate job versus starting your own thing. Because I saw my parents run multiple businesses with this fear of always failing, always having to hustle. So there was this narrative and story that became a money narrative. I have this money issue because of XYZ upbringing, and it becomes a story. And instead of even just carrying the story now, I've chosen to work with the power of decision. I think this is such a beautiful shift that can happen. It's like, I just decide that it's different. I decide that my financial reality is different and it exists. And that's it. There's no story. And you might listen to this and be like, well, that sounds easier said than done. But this is what I'm talking about when I talk about the connection to our body and our decision-making centers. Because energy is malleable, right? Energy can move. We can move energy. We can set energy based on our intention, especially when our intention is pure. So if we make the decision to claim and decide, connecting back to our body, that's what I'm saying, getting out of the mind and back into the body. For me, my most powerful decision-making center is my sacral center, which is the second from the body around the uterus or the womb. When I come back to that energy center and just say, I am making this big claim and decision, and there is no interference, there is no static, there is no mind chatter. The decision is made that I am abundant. I am abundant. And the more that we say it over and over and over, it becomes true. And when we make those decisions, this is where we can get this interference. And we see very clearly where our edges are. It's like, oh, but to be abundant, I have to do an X, Y, Z. Or to do this, I have to do X, Y, and Z. And that's not always helpful nor true. But what we can do is realize where an edge exists, and then again, double down on that decision making and make a powerful decision to do it anyway. Despite the fear, despite the story, despite what the mind chatter is saying, double down and take the action. Because the more and more we do it over and over and over, it's going to shift. So my focus now is not on story. In fact, I don't avoid story, but I don't need story. And that is a massive difference. If there's a resistance or an edge or a boundary, or even an expectation I feel like I'm imitating of others that's coming up, I won't even go into story anymore because I know it can be a trap to get stuck in. I'll go into decision, intention, desire. I want this because I know that my soul is speaking to me through my body, through my intuition, through my senses. Source is speaking to me that this is what I'm meant to do. So I make the powerful decision that that is true, that that is so, and that's what I'm going to do. And I move from that space. I'll also call in support, love, opportunity, helpful people. Make these, they're almost like commands. And people don't like this word command, particularly there's an energy in our society that we shouldn't be commanding, particularly for women. But command, it is like you feel that word in your gut. When you allow it in, you feel that word in your gut. It's like, this is what I choose. My intention is hyper-focused on this reality. And so that's the language that I work with now. And it makes such an incredible difference, particularly when you're facing a fear or you're facing an edge or a boundary that we've created in the mind. It's like, sorry, mind. Sorry, mind, this is an energy deal. This is being solved by energy and intention, and you make it so. And this can be really hard to get your mind around because you're like, well, that just sounds easy. Like, if that was that easy, then I'm sure everyone would do it. Like, how do I switch my mind off? And there's a subtlety to it. And it's not perfect, and my mind will still run away with me. But what I can tell you is that the more that we decide to claim our power, to claim who we are, to change our language and to get into the energy of certainty, even if we don't know what it feels like, even if it's super foreign and we have no idea what we're doing, or it feels weird, or you don't believe it, coming back to this energy, whatever way we can grasp it, and stepping into this, the more we do it, the more it becomes real. The more we're able to do it over and over and over, and it becomes the new baseline, becomes the new learned pattern. And that way we can start to step up to the threshold of the things that our soul is calling for us to do, and see the edge, see the fear, see the story, if we've got story that we've made around it, and we can choose differently. We can be like, I'm going to take this step anyway. I'm going to pursue this project. I'm going to run this test of something. You know, it's taking me ages to be able to do these walking podcasts because I was like, nobody's going to want to listen to this. I need perfect audio in a studio, like all this story and narrative and expectation just based on past things. And I'm like, oh, just get rid of all of that. Just go and do it. Run a test. So I've done a few tests of this, and I'm like, yeah, I kind of like this. I like this both as someone who's delivering it, but I also like to receive it too. When I listen back to them, I'm like, this is nice. It feels real. It feels like we're walking side by side, having a conversation, because you can hear the realness of it. You can hear the world around it. So run the test. See the edge. allow yourself to come back to your body, and whether that's go for a walk in nature and reconnect back to yourself, or do a grounding practice, whatever feels really good for you. Come back to yourself, see the edge, and just walk past it. And by walking past the edges, or walking past the narratives or expectations that we think we have to do, that's where we really start to discover the pieces of ourselves, the pieces of our soul that have been calling to us for so long. They're just waiting for us to listen, because all of a sudden we're choosing and we're intentional around dropping needing to be like someone else, or looking out at the world and being like, this is how I have to fit in, this is how I want to feel, oh, they're doing it that way to feel that way, so that's how I have to do it too. We can start to drop that and experiment for ourselves in what that looks like for ourselves, and make moves that only us could make. Crazy combinations of things and ideas that just feel so delicious and so blissful, and we have no idea where we're going, because that's the other big trap. Our mind wants to see the end result before we take the move. But even if we can't see where we're going, you just know. You know in your bones, in your body, that there's something here for you, that there's some magic here for you, there's something you're meant to be doing in this space, and you just move. And it's amazing, because as soon as you make the move, the edge dissolves, because you're like, oh, that's what I was afraid of and had created this big story about and had worried about in my mind. My mind is such a powerful processing tool, but it had created so many different scenarios that actually didn't exist. This is awesome. Or this is not as awesome as I thought, but it's okay, because now I have a new piece of the puzzle and I have the knowns. It's not an unknown anymore. I'm here and I'm like, ooh, new edge. Or, ooh, okay, cool, feedback, amazing. I'm getting to learn and know myself. I'm getting to love myself more. I'm getting to see my bravery. I can see the pathway starting to open. Because so many times we want the pathway to be open and clear before we make a move. It's actually impossible for our brains to see the exact pathway of our soul, because it's not what it's there for. The brain is there to just process information. It's not to see pathways. It's not to see energy. The best healers, mediums, shamans, psychics, I mean, we are all those things. Let me just say that. A strong belief that we are all those things. We just have chosen whether to open it or close it. But those like myself that are fully open and trusting, we don't do it from our minds. We do it from our energy senses, from our soul, through our bodies. That's how we receive. And so the more that we can come back to that, we start to open those channels, those abilities. We start to see and dissolve edges even faster, because all of a sudden we can see the ones that were real and the ones that are manufactured, the ones that the mind created out of fear or out of story, past experience. And then we can just keep moving one step at a time, discover ourselves one step at a time. And it's not even about becoming something at the end of the day. It's just about coming home to self. And so if there's something that you've been craving to do, but you've got an edge, you've got a block, or you've got a story or something that your mind is telling you, this is your permission to break free of that. To start playing with those edges, to come back to the body, to come back to the seat of the soul, maybe explore your human design, to see and connect, because sometimes it can be helpful to know that and be able to have a visual to really connect back into your body, and just take that next magical step into deeper of who you are. I love you. I hope you've enjoyed this walking episode. Let me know, send me a DM if you like it, any feedback that you have, and I will see you in the very next episode.
If you're not in there yet and you want to get into the private Telegram space where all of these audios drop every day, as well as all the art, the conversation, and the behind the scenes, go to www.andrealeematthews.com/private podcast. You can also follow me on Instagram at Andrea Lee Matthews, and you can find more about me and all of my work at andrealeematthews.com. I'll see you in the next transmission.